El Paso, Texas, home to one of the greatest wrestling families in the world, and home to one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. Lucha Libre is embedded in El Paso's culture, home to hundreds of wrestlers and over a dozen local promotions. But with all these great and talented wrestlers, why is it some of them never make it big? Why is it WWE sells out the Don Haskins Center, but only a handful of people attend local shows? I started wondering this, and I found myself realizing Lucha Libre in El Paso has a lot of issues. And it's not just one show or one wrestler. A lot of these promotions and wrestlers have the same problems. So I decided to do a list of all the issues I have with the way wrestling in El Paso has done locally. And keep in mind, I'm not a wrestler or a fan. I'm just a guy with an opinion. If you see something on this list that you like, please don't hold it against me. If you like it, great. It's probably just not for me. And I'm not doing this to insult anybody. I'm doing this to help promotions. I want them to actually get better. So here we go. My top 10 biggest issues I have with local wrestling shows in El Paso. Number 10. The shows being too long and starting too late. This is something I see a lot of fans complain about, and not just fans, wrestlers too. If a show says it's going to start at 6 o'clock, then it should start at 6 o'clock. I know this isn't entirely anyone's fault, since a lot of the times there's a lot of circumstances that can delay a show, such as waiting for wrestlers to show up, waiting for the crowd to get bigger. But the point is, if a show doesn't start on time, it really affects the crowd's outlook on the promotion. Plus, the show starts too late and ends too late. Nobody wants to leave a show on a Sunday night at 11 when they have work the next day. I know this isn't entirely anyone's fault, but I hope it's something that can be improved on in the future. Number 9. Too many shows on the same day. Yeah, you guys knew this was coming. On the one hand, it is nice to have options to go see different shows, but for a lot of fans, it's hard since they have a lot of favorite wrestlers wrestling at different places. And not everyone has a cameraman or someone recording to cover the shows, so the majority of the fans don't know what they missed. All they have to rely on is word of mouth. This also affects the shows a lot too. If a wrestler decides to do 2 or 3 shows in one night, it affects the length of their matches, and it sucks as a fan when you see a rushed match you were looking forward to, because the wrestler has to leave early to the next show. I know this is part of being an independent wrestler, but I hope this is something wrestlers are a little more aware of in the future. Number 8. Too many dives. Something I've noticed a lot from filming shows is that nobody gets excited or amazed anymore when someone does a big move like a Hurricane Rana or a moonsault. And that's because too many wrestlers do too many spots during their matches. It's hard for a crowd to get excited for a move they've seen over and over on the same show. I know this is done to give wrestlers a chance to showcase their work, but there's got to be some limits to the moves you can do. There's a reason why people get excited and cheer for Rey Mysterio when he does his moveset. We've seen it over and over again, but throughout most of the match, he's very grounded and works with the crowd to build momentum for his next move. That's why people get excited when they see the 619 or a seated senton, and why usually you hear crickets when a wrestler does the same move 4 other wrestlers did in the first place. Maybe I'm nitpicking, but this is just my take on it. Number 7. The lack of investment. It's hard to say who's at fault here for this, but I think this is something both fans and wrestlers need to understand. 1, it doesn't matter whether a wrestler is booed or cheered, that's how he or she knows that they're getting their job done. The last thing a wrestler wants is to go out to a quiet crowd that doesn't give them much to work off of. This makes the shows mostly quiet and painfully uncomfortable, and that's not fair to them. On the other hand, there have been times when a wrestler seems disinterested or bored with their match. If a wrestler isn't invested in what they're doing, then why should the audience be? I hope this is something that everyone realizes, that the crowd and the wrestlers work together to make the show greater. Number 6. The pointless endings. This is something I've seen a lot filming shows, whether it's unmasking a wrestler, giving a low blow, another wrestler interfering with the match. I wouldn't really mind these if they were done to build up a feud or a storyline, but majority of the time, none of these are followed up on. It feels like this is just done to be a twist or to shock the crowd for no reason. For example, at ACW's 2016 show Break On Through, Randy Torres was attacked after his match by Mr. Aguila, who was in the main event later on, and lost after Randy came out and distracted him. Why though? I have no idea. It came completely out of nowhere. They never fought or feuded before, so what was the point of it? Why did Mr. Aguila even attack him? Was it because he was trying to win best hair and he saw Randy as his only competition? It might as well be. It makes as much sense as anything else. The feud was never brought up again. There was no point for it. If you're not going to follow it up or have a reason for it happening, then why do it at all? This is something I hope a lot of promotions start following up on and start improving on, because it just leaves everyone confused.
What the hell was that?
Number 5. Too much filler and repeat during matches. You guys know what I'm talking about. Those little moments during the match that are used to kill time. I'm talking about the fake handshake, the distractions, the referees getting involved, saying this stupid thing. I wouldn't mind these, but literally almost every match does this, and it's boring. If you're going to try to work the crowd or milk time, then don't do the same thing that the last 3 matches did, because we already saw it, and we want to see something different.
You can't triple stamp a double stamp. You can't triple stamp a double stamp, Lloyd. You can't triple stamp a double stamp. Lloyd, you guys, enough.
Number 4. The 2 out of 3 falls matches. I know a lot of people like these matches since they're traditional. I'm sorry, but I don't. There's a lot of issues I have with them. 1, the wrestlers get pinned too damn fast. When a wrestler gets pinned or taps too fast, it doesn't make their opponent look strong, it makes the wrestlers look weak. 2, they're too predictable. Gee, I wonder which team is going to win the next fall if the other team won the first one. I wouldn't mind it so much if there was just one match, but no. Every single match is usually 2 out of 3 falls. It's just boring and pointless. I know, and the audience knows, that both teams are going to pick up a pinfall. So what's the point of even having them be 2 out of 3 falls if everyone knows who's going to win the first 2 falls? I'm sorry. If you're a fan of it, awesome, but it just doesn't get me excited. This also leads me to my next problem. Number 3. Little to no variety in matches and wrestlers. There are so many talented wrestlers and different matches we haven't seen, but because people want to see the same wrestlers in the same matches over and over, we'll probably never see them. What do most shows in El Paso consist of? Tag team, lucha estrella, and that's about it. Aside from XCW and NEW, no other promotions really do any singles matches or have a variety of matches unless it's a big event. I've actually lost count of how many times Los VIP have wrestled Impostor and Skybird in a match. They're not bad matches by any means, but after seeing them so many times, you want to see something different. There are so many possible matches out there that we would all love to see. Like, how about Magno versus Triton, Aiden Colt versus Utopia, Awesome Andy versus Hermes, Hurricane Hector versus Blue Demon Jr. The possibilities are endless, and nobody does these matches because promotions usually fill their shows with tag team and lucha estrella matches, always trying to cram in as many wrestlers as possible with little to no variety. I can't speak for everyone, but I would love to see more matches with different wrestlers. Number 2. The lack of character or personality. This is something a lot of wrestlers suffer from, both technicals and rudos. I'm going to be very blunt here, and I apologize if you guys like this, but being a rudo doesn't mean you have a character. All it means is you're calling yourself the bad guy. But what makes you stand out? What's your character? What's your motivation? Don't get me wrong, some local wrestlers do this great. Hurricane Hector is a racist Trump supporter. Aiden Colt is a loudmouth, cocky son of a gun. Utopia is an energized extremist. And Plan Z is a psychotic nutjob. These guys have personality and use their character to work with the crowd. But the majority of the wrestlers in El Paso don't have a character or personality to make them stand out. They either wear a mask or call themselves a rudo, and that's what defines them. Imagine if The Rock was like this in WWE instead of hearing this.
If you smell what The Rock is cooking,
it was replaced with this.
Boring.
And the number one biggest issue I have with local shows in El Paso is no storylines. This is definitely something I hope all wrestling promotions start doing because, man, is it needed. Majority of the matches are usually just putting together random wrestlers in matches that have no storylines or feuds, just guys fighting. Watching wrestling matches in El Paso is like watching the movie Batman vs. Superman. Sure, the fights look cool, but their motivations for fighting each other are weak and lacking. Audiences aren't emotionally invested and don't really get sucked in because there's no weight or build up to these matches. I'm not saying every match has to be like this, but there has to be something to make audiences want to watch the matches more every week. Well, there you have it, guys. My top 10 biggest issues I have with local wrestling in El Paso. If you guys don't agree with my opinions, leave some of yours in the comments, and I'd like to thank you guys for watching.